Hey girls. Okay, so this is the video on how you could have best tackled this question here, which is evaluate the view that the presidential era of the UK government is over. And this was a source question. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to show you how I would have analysed the source, how I would have planned it, what the arguments are, and then I'm going to show you one of the students' works that did the essay particularly well. I'm recording this on the last day of term. There's a lot of screaming going on, as I'm sure at some point some year 9 student will barge in, but that'll just be part of the fun. Okay, so the first thing I did was I went through the source, as you did, and I found all of the arguments that were relevant. And the way I like to do it is I like to get bits of paper and have a bit of paper on one side of it and a bit of paper on the other side of it, and I like to write down the arguments to the left and the right. You could also do this by just highlighting them in different colours, but I do say you've got to have some way of going, right, arguments on one side, arguments on the other side. This question is evaluate the view that the presidential era of the UK government is over. So for any essay question, you do need to be thinking, right, so what are the two sides of this debate? Because sometimes it's obvious, and in this question it is. Other questions it's not, but I like to kind of title my bits of paper down the side, so I'm kind of aware, like, what is the arguments I'm looking for. So on one side I would have written they are presidential, you can see it above it, that's one side of the argument. On the other side I would have written the presidential era is over. Sometimes as you're then working through the source, you then kind of see, actually, no, there's another bit here that's a slightly different argument, so I might kind of tweak that as I go, but I want you to be thinking, right, what is the arguments, the two sides, or maybe even three sides of the arguments that I'm making. So an example of a more complex one might be they are presidential, the presidential era is over. Maybe there's another one that says there never was a presidential era, or something, I don't know, but you need to kind of be thinking about what are the various arguments. And then all I did was I wrote down the arguments, wrote down any kind of examples that I kind of saw that I thought might be particularly useful, anything that I thought that I would be wanting to kind of put into the essay, summarized right down, because obviously you've only got about 10 minutes to plan, but you should take that time. And then there's a sign on the door, girls, I'm recording, go away. So then what you need to do is start to kind of bunch them up, because we're looking for three sections. So what I like to do is I like to then go, so where are the connections? So if you look kind of behind my head here, look at the top one, it says the power rests with the Prime Minister, who's responsible for policy decisions, and then a bit further down it says they can control the legislative agenda through a manifesto. Like, that's basically the same idea, isn't it? So I'm looking for connections on one side, things that I can put together into one paragraph. Because what you don't want to do, and a few of you did this, is to then put very similar ideas in section 1 and then put similar ideas into section 2. You want to kind of put everything that's basically the same point together. And then what we want to do on the other side is, hopefully we want to try something that we find something we can pair it up with. Now, a pair there needs to be some sort of link and connection between them. So let me show you one I did here. So I felt on this side, the power rests with the Prime Minister and the ability to be responsible for policy decisions, sorry, I made a little mistake there, and to control the legislative agenda is all the same point. So I'm going to make that my first half of the section. And then on the other side, the bit where it says the MPs are questioning the power, the bit where the lost majority, Commons defeat, timetabled referendum, this is all to do with to what extent is the Prime Minister able to decide policy. So think, to what extent is Boris able to make Brexit the big agenda of his government? So this is to do with kind of like overall control. Does that kind of make sense? So that I put them together as a section. Then I'm kind of digging around a little bit more. Now I've got one that's to do with the Commons and dominating the legislature. It's similar, but in my head it's kind of different enough. So on this side, the Commons just rubber stamps the policy. Theresa May dominates the legislature of this side. On the other side, they are accountable to the Commons. The war, the war, David Cameron's war, had to go through Parliament. This is where I can start to bring in my own examples, like the whips, and I can bring in other kind of prime ministers and things like that. Now, it is similar to paragraph 1, but I think in my head then I need to make what's the difference. So in paragraph 1, I think in my essay, I really want to make it about like the ability to kind of decide policy. On the second paragraph, I really want to talk about their constitutional ability to control the Commons and whip. So it's important that in your head, to stop your paragraphs becoming similar, that you do in your head kind of go, right, paragraph 1 is this, paragraph 2 is this, paragraph 3 is this, or sections. So my paragraph 1 is about policy. Section 1 is about policy. My section 2 is about ability to control commons. My section 3, carrying on forward, is I thought I'd shove loads of stuff together, because the source kind of ends up listing lots of their kind of little powers, like formal powers, if you like. There you go. So this has got a formal power. So declaring war, royal prerogative, chairing meetings, appointing cabinet, and the fact that there's no constitution, so it's growing. This is then countered by the fact that they get resignations from cabinet, they've been overruled by the Supreme Court, the Fixed Term Parliaments Act. So this is basically to do with, like, to what extent does the Prime Minister have formal powers? Now, this is not the only way to plan this essay. This is a very broad essay with a nice source. This is just the way I had chosen to do it, and the way you might choose to do it. So if you had done this a different way, that's absolutely fine. What's important here is you can see my thought process. I'm looking to get links within the side, and then I'm looking to make links across the side, and then that is my sections. And then all I then need to really do is decide on the order, because it's possible I'll run out of time. So I do want to start with whatever I think I really want to talk about and I want to expand on, and a kind of a narrative to my essay, especially if you've got something kind of complex there. So I think for this one, I'm not sure it matters, but I probably would do it in the order I did, kind of policy, commons, and then other powers, because my narrative could be, well, the Prime Minister tries to set the agenda, but actually that's been lost in recent years. However, some people say that the Prime Minister can control commons anyway, but actually no, they can't. Just look at Theresa May. Oh, but even if they can't control commons, they've still got all these other powers that they can use all the time. Actually, no, they can't, because they've all been overturned. So there's my kind of narrative, and then it kind of concludes. So that's how I would do it. Now, this is Isabel's essay, and she's kindly said that we can have a look at this, because she's done really well on this one. And I gave this one, I think it was either an A star or an A. It was on the border of it. But I want to show you what she's done and why this one was so strong. I'm just checking that that it's big enough for you to see. So where I've highlighted in yellow, we're talking structure. So let's just look at structurally what she's done. We're starting off with a whilst statement. Whilst it is possible to argue blah, 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 this fails as an argument, and in actuality, blah, 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 blah. Great. Then we've got this structure which we talked about in class. Some argue that, blah, 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 blah. However, this argument is insufficient and is proved wrong by most modern day PMs. And then at the end of the section, a summary comparing two arguments. Johnson was held accountable by judiciary, so if their power is significantly limited, which it is, the UK cannot be in a presidential era. So we've got a summary. And then section 2. Moreover, as the source argues, the lack of a codified constitution in the UK, blah, 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 blah. Nevertheless, this argument is made null by the current heightened powers of the other branches, blah, 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 blah. And then again, we've got a summary. So it is only valid to argue that the presidential era of UK government is over. Don't worry too much about the content here. It's the structure style. To conclude, the flexibility of the Constitution limits the Prime Minister rather than strengthens them. And then carrying on down, we've got a third section, and then we've got a conclusion which summarises the view. So I should probably put that in one in yellow as well. But you get the structure idea, and this one works really well. Now, almost everyone in the class, I think, actually more or less nailed this as a structure. Some of you didn't include an introduction, or some of you didn't necessarily put two sides all the time. So that's important, that we need these kind of connections and these kind of connective structures. But what really makes Isabel stand out is the excellent understanding and just the really strong use of examples, keywords, and information. And what I've done here is I've highlighted in green every time she's brought in something to back up what she's gone, in addition to just giving me the basics. So so some of you give me an essay where you'd given me an argument one side with the basic, argument the other side with the basics. Fine. How do you get it to a B? How do you get it to an A? So here we've got royal prerogative, final state on state matters, the power to declare war, reference to Winston Churchill, devolved powers, proroguing of Parliament, constitutional decisions. All of this is good quality information. Some of it specific examples like Winston Churchill, and some of it specific knowledge of political systems with analysis. And there's also lots of analytical phrases here as it kind of goes from more recently this and that, blah, blah, blah. Same comes down here. The PM doesn't have power. An example of this is, and also look at this, examples over time, David Cameron, Tony Blair, Obama. So we've got two generations, and we've got a a reference to a different country. Now, obviously, this is UK politics, but a quick reference, sure. Similarly, in Johnson's proroguing of Parliament. So the word similarly is then showing a second example to back something up. And now we've gone all the way from 97 to 2019 in terms of the breadth of the examples here. References to the judiciary, keywords, and then back to the summary. Again, in the second section, Margaret Thatcher, Boris Johnson, miners' strikes, Boris Johnson, Brexit, Theresa May relying on her advisors, due to lack of constitution, blah, blah, blah. Boris Johnson conducted negotiations, constant defeat, May's deal, general election, presidential era by her, Thatcher kicked out by her own party, replaced by John Major. You know, so we're using example narrative together. I would strongly suggest that you download Izzy's essay here. I'll upload it to the Firefly area here, and just read through these first two sections. Her third section is okay. It's not as strong as the first two. The first two are definitely kind of a masterclass in this technique, using the examples. And really, that was the big difference between those of you that got kind of B's and C's, and this one that kind of got the A's. It was just the amount of knowledge that was just like pow, 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 within that structure, within that analysis. Because if you use the structure, you're hitting at AO3. If you're creating the arguments within it, therefore this, similarly this is important because on the blah, 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 then you're hitting your AO2 as you kind of extend those. And if you're backing up your AO2 with lots of examples and keywords and things like that, then you're hitting your AO1. So that's why this one worked so well. Any questions, let me know. Read through this example, and I hope this video was useful to show you the kind of like how this one could have been done. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a great Christmas if you're watching this over Christmas, and if it's not Christmas time, then I hope you have a great whatever this is. And this is water, not vodka.